Officially live with our first episode of going off of Mr. Wilson here's name, Eric's name, Trustless Degens, and I kind of feel it. I'm feeling it. So welcome to Trustless Degens. This is the show where we talk about everything cryptocurrency, Web3, DeFi, just throwing out a bunch of buzzwords. Is probably what it sounds like right now. But that's pretty much the gist of the show. We're some guys that are into cryptocurrency, like AKA we like it, and we've been invested in it for some years now. The total, time on blockchain between the three of us on the show right now is probably, we're running over a decade. So that's nice to say. That's hard for many groups to say, no matter how many people you put together. So we got a nice group of people with us today. And transitioning to everybody, here we are. We have Rex Satoshi up top, and Eric Wilson to the top right. And then we have
What's going on, everyone?
Myself, Les Murph. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Awesome to be doing it again and have something to look forward to, chatting with some friends about some crypto. Life's been getting in the way, so it's nice to be able to do this again, like the good old days.
Yeah. So I guess we need to start off with introductions, really. I feel like who knows who, and nobody knows who we are. So I don't know. Either you want to start? Do you want to start, Rex Satoshi or Eric?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I am Rex Satoshi. You made me feel old when you said a decade, man. I think I've been around officially by myself for half that. So, I just started just really being interested in Bitcoin and learn about how to hold your own Bitcoin and hold your own value, and that led me to actually trying to make money in crypto and learn about that, and that led me to gaming and NFTs and play to earn, and that led me to trying to figure out how to not get my crypto hacked, and how to not get scammed, and how to be responsible with risk. And so I'm just here to share that knowledge with everyone and have fun and shoot the shit with you guys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Eric, and really crypto. I first got into interest in crypto when Bitcoin was about 370. So I think that's 2013 or 14, something like that. And unfortunately, I didn't invest a whole lot back then. I got in early enough to be rich, but I didn't go in hard enough to be rich. But it did bail me out some tough times when the market peaked, and I was like, But my thought on it is take enough out to where you can never be unhappy if it goes down to zero, and that's done me well. But got in early, basically got interest in Steam it, and I thought that was going to be the future, and I invested a lot of time and energy into that. It's since forked into Hive. The community went over to Hive. And so a lot of with crypto, you have it's really hard to keep up with everything. And so for me, I try to have a balance of not going in too deep, and just trying to learn as much as I can in a limited amount of time. So this kind of stuff is really valuable for me, and I hope valuable for other people, to where we can throw information together really quick on all of our interests, and we can educate each other and anyone else hanging out with us too. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Hell yeah. Great introductions, you too. And I'll transition it to myself. I'm Smurf, hosting today, and I'll apologize for the weird camera setup that we currently have going. That's just due to limited time. This is our first pilot show. It's just going to get better and better over time. We're mixing this in the middle of a work week, and I feel like what was most important to us was kind of just getting, like as Eric was kind of just saying, like getting this type of content out, because the content that we share is really what matters. And some of this I might end up sharing with no video at all. Just be like straight up audio or written from what we've spoken about. So the content's really what's important. So hopefully that message syncs with anybody who comes across this video later on. That cues us or finishes us up for our quick little roll call. we're going to move into a segment of the show that's titled The Rundown. So appropriate. So what do the rundown do? In the rundown, we're just going to cover various topics in the industry. So things that are new cryptocurrency news, highlights, macro events. In fact, we've even broken it down into a specific section of the rundown for macro events, just to try to tailor that off, because I feel like that can always, when you start talking too high level macro, I feel like it starts to cross like borderline conspiracy theories. Sometimes it sounds like, when you're talking about big macro situations, it's like people are just like, is that conspiracy? And it's like, no, like the price of lumber's down. You're just saying stuff, and it's like, so yeah, bro, just giving you guys.
You don't even know, man. So years ago, but before I even got into Bitcoin, I was looking into like the supply of gold that people have, and looking into inflation and everything. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Like I'm in the weeds right now. And then 10 years later, all this stuff is it's like valuable information that a lot of people don't know. And you're like, damn, you were right about this stuff. You were, looking into 10 years ago, when you just thought, you were just out here in the weeds, but a lot of that stuff is legit.
Yeah, it's crazy how it works that way. And I know you two have been in blockchain for at least through, this is like your at least your second bear run situation, because I met you guys during like a previous bull run, I feel like. And so how it gets during, I feel like it hasn't gotten that cold during this bear run yet, because I feel like do I totally feel like everybody that knows that I like crypto and stuff like that just thinks I'm a crazy conspiracy guy and just no, it's never coming back or whatever, before it just turns around? Or is it just mature enough? But regardless, I feel like the information that you get from these type of markets and paying attention to the bigger picture financially, maybe not just in your own country but internationally, is invaluable. So craziness. But yeah, I wanted to start off with these topics, and if either of you has a topic that's at the forefront of your brain, feel free to let it rip on that one. We can jump into that topic first, but otherwise I was going to start things off with the Tornado Cash situation. So I guess I just want to ask the both of you two, and let me go to my camera really quickly. I'll ask the question. I want to go to the both of you two. We can start with Eric. I feel like we've been starting with Satoshi a lot. And then then Satoshi, just what's your opinion on this Tornado Cash situation? How do you feel about it as somebody in cryptocurrency? And then I'll give a quick debrief for anybody who's not into cryptocurrency for this one, and you guys can handle some of the other ones. But Tornado Cash is basically what's called a mixer in cryptocurrency. So you send your funds in, and let's say you had $100, and it gets sent out in a way that, since it interacts with this smart contract, you send it out and you can send it to whatever address in a way that it's hard for anyone to really track whose money is going where. And that's kind of the point of the mixer, that it's sending it out, and it's sending it out at intervals that makes it difficult to track. So it's not like sending a peer a direct transfer where you send somebody $10 and it shows up right at their wallet. It's like you sent $10 to this smart contract, and it goes into the smart contract, and eventually you're gonna get $10 out of the smart contract at a different time period. And I don't think I'm not familiar enough with Tornado, but I've done some other ones in the past, so I don't know if it splits up those payments or not. But maybe one of you two is more familiar with it as we dive into the topic.
So that was a complete educational thing for me, because I didn't know. One thing with me is I'm the first to admit if I don't know something, and I had a general idea what Tornado was, but I would like to say is I heard that somebody was trolling celebrities that had doxed web addresses, right, or ETH addresses. So they're just sending out 0.1 ETH to all of them. And I know Justin Sun got caught up in that too. So I was happy to hear that. I'm petty.
Oh man, yeah, yeah.
That's hilarious.
So I'm bowing out on the rest of that. That's all I know.
The Tornado Cash situation is just it was kind of inevitable, And I also feel like it was just like it's a mix of a lot of things that is, like we have a bunch of institutions who are wanting to get in now, who are wanting, these institutions, when they lose money, they want someone to blame. So I was watching an interview with Kevin O'Leary, and he was talking about how we need to sacrifice these tornado cash guys so that we can get these big institutions to come and bring their money in. Because these big institutions, you guys remember when Mark Cuban had invested in that one DeFi thing that went up, and he was like,
OHM.
He was like, I need someone to basically help me find out what happened to my money. So I feel like with BlackRock and with like Fidelity and with all these institutional guys, like with the Fed talking with these banks about custody and crypto, we're going to see stuff like this happen where they're going to go after whoever they can. And since they can't really go after the Korean hackers who did the DeFi hack, or who did the Ronin chain hack, they're trying to go after whoever they can. So they decided to go after the one of the creators of Tornado Cash. Which I think is unfortunate. That's like someone going after Vitalik, or someone trying to go after Satoshi because they created Bitcoin.
Yeah, I feel like it's always unfortunate the type of person that the Fed, as I'll just call, like there's two, and I'll just say that distinction really quickly for anybody listening. There's two types of distinctions between the Fed, because people throw out the word the Fed, and typically it means two different things. One is the federal government, and the other, in terms of speaking about monetary policy or cryptocurrency or whatever, is the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is what controls the money policy in the United States, basically. Like, yes, the government, like in whatever political party is in charge at the time, has some say, but they're trying to influence the Federal Reserve. It's like you giving likes to an influencer to try to influence them to take that one picture or video more so. Like, I really like that content, like make more of it. That's what they're doing on Washington to the Federal Reserve. It's totally distinct from the government. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that too when we're saying the Fed. Right now, speaking toward actual federal governments, actual government branches named Fed, just that it's unfortunate when they get some of these people, because the people that they usually get, like Tornado Cash Guy, or I remember back in the last bull run, it was like a father and son duo. And I think the dad ended up going down for the son or whatever, and it's like, but they usually end up getting people that are trying to do the right thing, like putting their name out there, because for this developer of Tornado Cash to be doxxed already is like, this man put his life on the line. Like, you're playing around with people's funds and stuff like that in blockchain. You're taking yourself to public opinion in public court. And people get you like, and it's like, we don't know why he got shot and whatever the heck, or stabbed wherever. It seems like there was no reason for it, and it's like, okay, but were they a developer of such? There's reasons. But yeah, the government's just getting people that people that already are taking this level of risk because they want to try to do something that's good and innovative. And quite frankly, for America, which is a capitalist society, and I'm bringing up America because America is really what's kind of propelling a lot of countries to like be whatever direction toward things. But for America, which is a capitalist society, it's kind of wild to me, because I'm like, we actually have a society that revolves around the need for us to invest in innovation. Like, our whole currency system is set up for you to invest in whatever business, aka innovation of that business, to help propel things. Otherwise, it fails. And like, for them to be coming after like the newest level of innovation is like wild to me. I'm like, well, why would you shoot your own economy in the foot? What are you doing? Just because you don't get it? Like, this is baffling. That's literally what our economy is set up around. And we're like, you know what? In this situation, because it doesn't benefit these people or something, like, no. Like, that's okay.
It reminds me of states that are late to the game in marijuana legalization.
Yeah.
Like, you're just gonna, if you're the first 25, you're gonna benefit. If you're the second 25, it's not gonna be nearly as beneficial as if you did it in the beginning, but for better or for worse. But
well, yeah, it's to me, it's interesting that it wasn't enough to blacklist all that value in USD on the blockchain to blacklist it. Like, you can't, like, when your address is blacklisted. When your address is blacklisted, so like, you can still make transactions if you can move your seed phrase, like onto MetaMask or something like that, onto like like a non-custodial wallet. But if your value is on any centralized platform like Coinbase or Binance, or I think in Justin Sun's case, which one was it?
Probably Polygon or something. It's either Ethereum or he was using Aave, so I'm like,
yes, it was Aave. So those platforms are clearly trying to come out on top on this regulation puzzle that we have now. So they are not allowing people to make transactions with their, I don't know if it's their whole wallet or if it's just in USDC, but that type of stuff is dangerous, man. It's like that kind of stuff can, like, to me, it's like it can break the whole blockchain if people aren't going to use USDC, and because you can't make an anonymous transaction with it. I don't use Tornado Cash, so I mean I'm trying to pay my taxes and be legit, but I see why someone would want to use Tornado Cash, especially if you're not trying to get doxxed, or you're trying to not get scammed. You want to take your privacy very seriously. I just think it's wild that they had to go and actually arrest somebody instead of trying to find the scammers, which it's a difficult job, but a lot of scammers dox themselves as well.
Right.
So I think it's wild. I think we're gonna see more stuff like this, where they start messing with the blockchain in funny ways, where they want to blacklist stuff, or say you can't use certain platforms and stuff like that. But I think there is a need for privacy. It's wild to me that you can go and trade $1 privately. You can go and buy drugs with $1, and no one knows what happens with it. I mean, you can buy whatever you want with $1, and I think that
they don't care about cracking down on that.
It's a very private transaction. Most fraud that happens with the U.S. dollars. So it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I feel like that's like a good sum up of it. And like for those that need a little bit more context in the situation, the United States Treasury actually banned the use of the Tornado Cash application, and when they kind of put throw down the ban hammer, if you will, on something like this, they expect other entities to follow suit, especially those that are like the biggest names in the area. Otherwise, they're likely to get the hammer coming after them next, and so people start to follow suit. And it's really when you start to see which of these blockchain applications has a little bit maybe too much human control underneath it. Other ones have more multi-sig type of voting restrictions and whatnot, which I think makes it that much more resistance to a government doing something like this. And it'll be like my last thing to say on the Tornado Cash situation, but I think stuff like that, if it goes too far, because I do believe it's dangerous, but I feel like if it goes too far, like a government like really just starts to like clamp down on more, and like now you can't trade on like Uniswap or PancakeSwap, and like they really start doing that. I'm like, what are people gonna do? I don't think that I don't think the blockchain's going anywhere, and I don't think all the millions of dollars that people have, billions of dollars people have on the blockchain are going to go anywhere because you said they can't trade on whatever platform. I think people are going to get really smart, or some developer that's already out there is like, this is a much darker way of doing this, and it's like black pools which already exist, or like it's like, what is it? I think are they called dark trading pools or black trading pools? Basically, there's a certain level of finance on Wall Street and trading where your trades are not seen by the general public, and like people just don't get to know what you do because they feel like your trades might be too influential to the market, and so you get to trade in complete privacy, which is exactly what people are. It's just like, so when things like that already exist, and like they're like, these people can get away with it, but if you want to do it, then, and it's like, that's just problematic. So I think smart people are going to do what they already did on the blockchain, which is continue to adapt, and the governments would make it into a situation that they really don't want, because like what they don't want is for people to become like totally cool with the blockchain, have their little nano ledger wallets or whatever type of wallets, transact them with each other peer-to-peer instead of using any type of platforms, any type of centralized platforms. Because once people start doing it peer-to-peer more often, just for like goods like an Etsy shop or whatever, then it's like it's really out of government's control. Like they can't do anything about it once it truly just be like, once people, and it's already being done peer to peer, but once people just go, what, for those goods, for this and that, for your house, for what, like, then they can't stop it. Like that's like the problem. Like
That's the point.
they're pushing it toward that, and I'm like, you're pushing it towards something that you don't even want to happen. But if you keep doing that, there's already like, it's funny. I was writing something for work about this, but there's already magic internet money, and I'm saying that way kind of like as a joke, especially because I call like normies muggles, people that just don't understand cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But magic internet money, MIM, is an actual stable coin pegged to the dollar, and it's like which is like, you know, normies are probably like, what? And it's like, yeah, there's this currency that's pegged to one United States dollar. Like, that money as you know it in person already exists on the blockchain, and oftentimes it's more resistant to change. As the United States dollar fluctuates, USD fluctuated down to like 88% of like what it actually is like a year or two ago. Meanwhile, the stable coin stayed up at the true value of $1 the entire. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
like, fam, what? Like, yeah, they might fluctuate sometimes, but overall, what they're able to do is like pretty ridiculous by like collateralizing these things, and by not just like printing a whole bunch of it just for like whatever reason. In a promise note of, I think this capitalist endeavor will work out, which is pretty much what our banking system does. Like, we believe in capitalism. Capitalism should make us more money, and so we loan more money out, even if we don't have it. But
We just assume it's all going to work out eventually.
yeah, seriously. That kind of leads us into the next thing, which is like DeFi versus CeFi. And I'm not sure if either of you wants to, if you like are familiar enough to like introduce the topic of what is DeFi versus CeFi. What does that mean?
Well, real quick, Smurf, I don't know if you're aware, you have your share screen up, so whenever you talk, it's actually us.
Oh, is that why? Oh my goodness.
That might be it.
Wait. I know I've been going back and forth because there's like the one problem, but is this on? I don't think my actual share is on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think my actual share is on.
All right. No, as far as go ahead, Rec, if you'd like to.
You want to explain what DeFi is as opposed to CeFi?
Yeah. Basically, and like my reasoning for it, like why I want this topic, is I feel like a lot of people, including like big influencers, like I saw BitBoy tripping up on this, where he was calling like Celsius DeFi, and I'm like, that's not a DeFi company. Like, when you go out and buy yachts, it's investor funds. It's not DeFi.
Okay, so let me think about that. So when I think of DeFi, what I think of is like using a non-custodial wallet to connect to a decentralized application, and you get to move your tokens or your value around yourself. You're not accepting a wallet from like a Coinbase or a Binance or somebody who has made the keys for you. And you're taking all the risk yourself. You're not depending on Coinbase to keep your funds safe. You're not depending on some other person to move your money around for you. You're not depending on someone to make sure that you don't lose money. You are totally responsible for what happens to your value. Centralized is where you are handing over your value to someone else to manage. You're kind of saying, okay, I trust you to keep this safe for me until I want to get it back. And that's basically it. It's, to me, DeFi is you trust yourself to make your moves, and CeFi is you trust someone else to make your moves. Now, there are certain advantages and disadvantages to DeFi and CeFi. Like, I think personally, most people who are newer to the blockchain, I think CeFi is the way to go. I think, especially if you have a smaller amount of value that you're wanting to use, it's safer for someone who's newer to use CeFi to kind of keep your money safe. But once you start to have more value, you want to take more personal responsibility for what happens to your money. So, like we were talking a little bit earlier about what happened with Voyager. Voyager is a centralized exchange where you sign up with an email. They give you a wallet, and you deposit your funds into that wallet, and you move your funds around on their platform. And when Voyager runs out of money, or when they become insolvent, they can't pay their debts, they have to use your crypto to pay their debts. So that means that you cannot access the crypto because you don't have any. In DeFi, you have your cryptocurrency that's in your wallet, and then you have that value that you go and stake with, or you go and yield with. Now, usually what will happen is, if something goes wrong with DeFi, things that can go wrong is you connect your wallet to a scam site, and you can get hacked that way. Or if the value that you put in a certain protocol, so say I have $100, I put $10 in Anchor, and Anchor goes up, you lost your $10. You didn't lose the rest of the money that you had. So I'm gonna I feel like I went on for a while there. I'm gonna kind of go back, see if you guys have anything on that.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it's good to know the difference, because you need to know basically when you're responsible and when someone else is responsible.
Facts. Yeah. Oh, is Eric? Okay, cool. Were you gonna take it? Oh, muted for a second. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'll take it for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which was just like, I think Rex Satoshi did a great job of kind of describing that and going into a bit of detail with it. In summation of that a little bit, like, again, DeFi is, as he was saying, trustless. It is basically a new financial layer. Like, if you want to consider, like, broader strokes, what is DeFi as a picture? DeFi is the previous financial system as we knew it, with tweaks and turns and different fancy bobs on the blockchain. So it's the recreation of a financial structure on the blockchain. The creation of Bitcoin was the creation of some type of value on the blockchain. So it's it's basically, that's why people typically call it like gold. And why gold? Because gold is kind of stand at the test of time versus other currencies. Currencies kind of go up and down, but it's really hard to manipulate gold for very long because of the way it's mined, which is the same to say for Bitcoin. And then, like, DeFi, blockchain, permissionless, using these smart contracts to do it, this whole different financial system. And then CeFi is centralized, aka Walmart or the drugstore down the street or something like that. Those have owners, and I feel like a really good analogy for anybody who's like, well, why would you prefer CeFi versus DeFi, or why would you prefer DeFi versus CeFi? Because I prefer DeFi over CeFi, and as Rex Satoshi's saying, CeFi is good for you as you're getting started with things. But consider this and think about this on like a bigger, like, macro picture of how it works out in the real world, or off chain, as we would say. And that's, banks exist, right? And they don't get robbed as much anymore. But previously, in the history of the United States and other countries, banks were getting robbed all the time. And why is that? It's because people put their money at the banks. And when you have a large sum of money in one place, it's easier to rob. And that same exact principle exists on the blockchain, and this is why people say become your own, be permissionless, take on your keys, take on that responsibility, hold it yourself. Because if those same robbers went to that city and they're like, all right, we're gonna take $1 million today, but to do so they had to knock on all the doors of all those individuals, they're not getting all that money today. They're getting 1 or 2 houses, maybe. And then they're in a world of trouble already because they put themselves through like way too much to do it. But if they go into a bank, they have to be quick and efficient for like 5 minutes at one place, and that same exact thing exists in CeFi. That's the issue with CeFi, really, versus DeFi. Other than man and manipulation and whatever, it's just that exists. And so if you can take it into and like, the only reason I'm bringing that up, because that was like a big part of American history to begin with. Like, the only reason we started to use banks and certain types of banks is because we had gold. versus United States dollars, or and basically you take and it was hard to hold your gold, and that's part of the reason why the United States is big on guns and stuff like that, because we had our own goods and stuff at our places. And how do you defend that? You need a gun, point blank. If you got dollar bills under the mattress, so that you can take those dollar bills to the bank and get gold, and that bank is somewhere else, so AKA to get to the bank, you have to go through the desert and possibly get robbed for your dollar bills before you get to take them to get your gold, and then you have to make it back with your gold. All this, if you actually want to get gold from your dollar bills, chances are you're dying. That's just what it was. Either you're strapped or you're dying. Like, facts. Like, it's just, but that's how we evolved to the situation we are currently, and that's why it matters, because it's still like that. Obviously, people aren't dying as much from it. People still do, but they're not dying as much from it. And it's just a matter of, like, when all that money is in one place, it's easier to take. It's just always going to be easier to take when it's all in one place versus keeping it to yourselves. And so that's why having a financial system on the blockchain where people can control it, where there's less manipulation of man when something is actually working, is so much better. And that's why when we had this, and this will be my last thing, because then I've been ranting for too long. When we had that close of, like, the Voyager situation, or the Celsius situation, or the Terra Luna situation, in all of these cases, there were man-made errors that made the situation worse than it already was. People will do things, and they'll make it worse. And what we learned from these last things, because it's things specifically like Celsius, used DeFi. So they took in people's money, and then they deployed that money in certain DeFi things. But they used things like Aave and Compound. And what we found was, while the mainstream media was saying, DeFi broke and DeFi failed and this and that, it was really these CeFi companies that misallocated the funds that people trusted them with. And they put it in projects that were too risky sometimes, or they thought they would get more money, and they went out and bought billion-dollar yachts and whatever crazy crap. They just misallocated the funds. And what happened? The DeFi that was running on smart contracts, permissionless, it's a piece of code that says these are the rules. This is the rules of the game. You can read the rules of the game. We were making a joke earlier where we were talking about, I forget what we were talking about. We were like, what about, counting cards? We were like, what if everybody knows that the game is to count the cards at this casino? But that's kind of how DeFi works. Everybody knows the rules. And so what they had to do is, these centralized entities had to, before they could pay back their customers, they had to pay back the DeFi. They had to pay back the smart contracts before they got totally liquidated and lost everything. They lost a little bit of money, or they got scared, and they had to find more money to pay back these robots, because DeFi didn't break. But the media portrayed it as DeFi broke, this and that. These companies crashed. It's like, no, it worked perfectly. It made those companies stop playing around with people's money and pay up. Which is, it's really hard for us to do in finance. So
my point's really simple. Is the working, I guess we could say, working title of the show is the Trustless, and the Trustless Degens, and the term trustless in blockchain, in regards to blockchain, is very new. Normally, you look it up, the definition of trustless is like somebody you can't trust. And in the terms of blockchain, maybe we should figure out a better way of framing that. But or maybe just people get used to, that's the terminology of how we use it, is it doesn't matter. You do not need to trust me to do business with me. And I think that's the point of DeFi as compared to centralized finance. It takes a truly decentralized, quote unquote, are we ever going to get truly decentralized? We can have that argument all day, but really, is there checks and balances that prevents people from making changes too quick, from changing the rules of the game too quick to where people can't respond to it. I think we've all faced some sort of waking up in the morning and all of a sudden all your stuff's gone, and whether that's a game that you play, maybe it's a Minecraft server you accidentally deleted, or a game that no longer supports some online play or something like that. We've all, isn't that the reason Vitalik started Ethereum, was because they nerfed an elf character of his or something like that? He's like, games you should be able to always, have the power of your character and that kind of stuff. And for me, that's what it comes down to. They can't rug pull you. You can't rug pull a really decentralized protocol, right? Everything else is just the people making the rules change the rules, or it's always in their favor or something like that, and it was never checked properly. I don't know. But like you said, as far as there being a lot of robberies at the banks in the early days, I think we can also say that there's a lot of rug pulls in cryptos in the early days too. Some people just have that attitude of when they get a new toy, they want to see how they can break it with computer programming and stuff like that. And I think that's hyper sped up with crypto. And I've always noticed that the crypto is like a sped up version of governance, of capitalism, of like I've seen people change just being going from nothing to being influencers in crypto, and seeing how everything just speeds up with crypto. It's wild. I think we learned lessons. We can make small tweaks to the blockchain and see monumental exponential changes down the road. And that's why whoever gets to change the rules of the blockchain, it's very important that we're all on the same page of how it's going to be done. And not every blockchain has to be different. In fact, that's the point. We all see what works. But yeah, I think personally, crypto is the future of governance. I see things working out in crypto governance that people are still trying to figure out in regular governance. And it's just, I think a lot of these answers are going to be solved with protocols, to be honest.
Facts.
I agree with that. I'm gonna say my last couple words on CeFi and DeFi. So you said we were talking about trustless, and what makes blockchain trustless is that you can go and you can see all the transactions if you know how to find them. So that means that I don't need to trust that you did something. I can go and verify if I know your wallet or I know someone's wallet. I can go and see it, what you sent, where you sent it. That's why I always tell people, you're not going to want to do anything illegal on the blockchain because you can find it. Even stuff that was on Tornado Cash. Like if you have enough money or you have enough time, you can trace a lot of that stuff back. It's meticulous. It's hard, but you can do it. There are companies that get paid to trace transactions on Tornado Cash. And the other thing when you were talking about the banks, so you were talking about like leaving money in the bank as opposed to having your own cash. And another thing when you can tell if something's centralized or decentralized, like when banks are doing the same things that these exchanges like Coinbase and exchanges like Binance, or even protocols from people who are invested in Terra Luna were doing. They take the money that's in there. So me and Smurf and Eric, we all put $30 into the bank. Well, the bank takes sometimes 90% of that money, and they invest it, and they're out gambling with it, and like what happened in China. If the bank loses the money that they're investing with, then they don't have the money to pay the people who put their money in the bank. And so that's why it's good to be, to not put all your money in one fire, to not have, it's not smart to have all your money in one bank or have all your money in the bank, period. It's not smart to have all your money on Coinbase or in a centralized place. You want to have some of your value in other places, so that if something happens over here, I still got a little bit over here that I can play with or move around with. Just things that they don't tell you in school, or they don't tell you when you're opening your bank account. They don't tell you when you're learning about how to move around financially. Is that it's not always going to be I can take my money to this bank and they're going to hold it for me, and a crazy thing that I heard. So I bet a lot of these banks are invested in the S&P 500. Something wild that I heard from Earn Your Leisure today was, what would happen if Google or someone like Microsoft decided that they're going to move their company to a different country? Our GDP would be wrecked. It would be in a permanent recession. Like the amount of money that Apple and some of these companies bring to our GDP is a massive amount of money. Like we would not make any money. Our GDP would be nothing if we didn't have those businesses on the stock market. So I think that to kind of wrap it up is that you just got to kind of be conscious of all these things that are moving around, globally in the macro market. and just do your best to try to make it to where you feel comfortable, and to where you know that if this goes up, I got a little bit to fall back on, something. It might not be a lot, but at least it's a portion that you have back that is not up in smoke when something goes up.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as I'm a big proponent of blockchain, always try to diversify as much as possible. And for me, a great way to diversify is through blockchain. Taking small amounts out of blockchain and diversifying, but do it however you can. Set up as many funnels of money making as you can. As they typically say, it's like you think you need like something like 7 funnels of income to start being financially well off or wealthy. So never a shortcoming for that. But yeah, thanks for that, guys, on that topic of CeFi and DeFi. I think we did a pretty good job covering that, and hopefully people can understand that a little bit better. What is a centralized finance company versus a decentralized finance company? Basically, centralized finance is controlling it, and DeFi, smart contracts or code, is controlling it. It's permissionless, and that's what we mean by trustless. As a broad explanation to that, before we run into this last portion of things, last topic of things, we're going into because we started to chime in on some more macro type concepts there. So I'll give that some of the macro play. But I wanted to enter us into our crypto 101 portion of things, which is where we kind of just share some insight into us as people in crypto and Degens or whatever. How we maneuver the blockchain. And so we have a topic today, which is going to be how to get into crypto. Like if you had money in your bank account or whatever have you, how do you get into crypto? But before we do that, just to spice things up, because I want this to be on the back of the minds of our other moderators here, Eric and Rex Satoshi. Before we do that, I wanted to mention some other newsworthy topics of the day, which was just that, and I'm sure it's going to light up Satoshi before we get into the last portion, which is Dogechain launching. Other than Dogechain launching, there is Shiba Inu, which is, everybody knows the Doge dog is a Shib, but Shiba Inu is also making some big gains lately, and that's because Dogechain just came out, but it's probably because they wanted to get something out there before SHIB just totally kicks them out of the water. I think in the fight of the dogs, SHIB is going to win the fight. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it's a dog day today. That's really what I want to say. So there's SHIB. There's in the Shibarium, is the name of their layer 2 chain that's coming out. So SHIB is also working on a chain. It's been doing so for a long time. I believe it's maybe a fork of Arbitrum or something like that, which is one of these roll-up solutions for Ethereum. So if that's the case, actually, and it's using roll-up technology, this is the thing about and I gotta keep going through the list, but this is the thing about these tokens that started more so on the chain, like Floki and SHIB, is that they are seriously into the technology. Actually, they're jokes, but they're actually utilizing the technology like Dogecoin wants to. But that another hot topic on the macro area is just the BlackRock and Coinbase actually did a partnership. So it's like the dark side and the light side, or what you thought was the light side, combining. Like Coinbase is Luke Skywalker in this situation or something. Cause we're just confused what's happening. Keep that saber good. We don't know what's happening. EOS is also on a pump. That's because I guess EOS is splitting ways. This is part of those, splitting from a little bit more of that CeFi entity attached to EOS. EOS split from, and I just read about this, EOS split from Block One, which was their founder. And so EOS split from them and is no longer sending out allocations of tokens to them. So in DeFi, typically you put your money somewhere or you stake it in some type of smart contract, and then you can earn income via these tokens. And so maybe the tokens are worth nothing, but other than a governance right in this protocol or something, or maybe they are. It depends on how many people want that, but that's what EOS and many other projects run on. And EOS recently split ways from them, and they're going to be forking, and it's going to be a whole new chain and stuff like that. So EOS up 30% on that news and that momentum. Yeah, I was like, oh snap, that's actually a big deal for anybody who's actually about blockchain. You're like, oh, that's kind of big, like that, the SHIB. So just to pique you guys your waters a little bit there. Also, there's been a lot of news about whales buying up different altcoins, including SHIB, ETH, and Bitcoin. Why are whales buying SHIB, ETH, and Bitcoin? Interesting. But yeah, just wanted to throw those out there into the next segment, which is, so hopefully your brains are formulated, but the next segment, which is for the 101 guys out there, for the people that want to know how to get into cryptocurrency, what is your favorite way? We'll start off with, I believe last time we started with Eric. I'll go with Rec this time. What is your favorite way, Rec, of getting into cryptocurrency and getting out of cryptocurrency? So how do you go from your bank account or whatever have you into crypto, and then you want to get some gains? How do you like to cash out?
Okay, so when I first started, I got in with Coinbase, and I just, linked my bank account Coinbase, and I was buying like Litecoin or something. And then a couple years ago, I started using Cash App, which I thought was pretty cool because I wasn't using Coinbase anymore, so I started using Cash App, which is kind of the same as Coinbase. Say if we're on Cash App, all you can buy is a Bitcoin, certain stocks. And then let's see, so when I started want to cash out, I used Coinbase a couple times to put some money on a PayPal card, and then I started using BitPay, which was frustrating because you had to pay the gas fee, so you're paying gas fees to move your crypto to BitPay, and then you're paying a smart contract to sell your USDC to cash and put it on your debit card, but you can only put so much on at a time. So then I learned that you could use FTX to cash out, and that you could send USDC on Solana to FTX with basically very little to no fee. You could sell that USDC that was on Solana for USDC and send it to your bank account. And so in December, when everything was looking weird and people, I watch the All In podcast, and one thing that got me was Chamath started telling people that all the big wealthy people were selling. Like Tesla started selling, and I forgot who else, but some other people were selling shit. And he was like, you should probably think about, selling some stuff. So I started selling FTX, and when I was doing it on BitPay, you could only do a couple thousand, maybe even 1,500 like per time. But when I started using FTX, I started doing like $7,500 like basically every week or every other day, and it was pretty fast. Like I got it on my account like the next day, and so that's what I would go with FTX. If you have a way to even use a centralized exchange to bridge your Ethereum USDC to Solana, and then you can move your Solana USDC around with low gas fees, and that worked out the best for me. Like if I was going to cash out now, I would totally use FTX. And then I ended up putting some money back into FTX from my bank account, and that was a little weird because I had to wait 14 days to take my money off of the FTX platform.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Like, how long does it take to go from FTX to the bank account?
Now, so from FTX to my bank account, it only took 1 day. So I was like, that was great. But and then to go from your bank account into FTX was instant. But to be able to move your value off of the FTX centralized exchange to your own like MetaMask wallet or whatever Solana wallet, like a Phantom or I don't know what other Solana wallets are out there, but to be able to move it off of FTX, I had to wait 14 days, which was, I think what they were doing was,
we got time for that.
I really think what that has to do with is the bank clearing the money to them. Like they're lending you the $1,400 until the bank says, all right, bet we're going to send the $1,400 to FTX. And what can happen though is that your bank might be like, oh, this is fraud, and they don't send the money to FTX, and then you sent the money around, and FTX is like, oh, you owe us some money. Mm-hmm. So you just got to kind of test out and see what works. But that's what worked the best for me.
Oh, dope. All right. Well, thank you for that. FTX, it sounds like Solana and FTX further win for Rex Satoshi. And Eric, what's your favorite method in and out?
Dude, I'm a noob, man. Easiest way for me is Coinbase in and out. Yeah. But it's like I don't keep anything on there. I just throw, you know what I mean? Like I used to keep it on there. It'd be one of those like oh, I'd buy $5 here, I'd buy $10 there, and then I'd forget about it for a year, and then I'd look at it and be like, oh crap, I got $800, cash out,
Yeah.
or send it somewhere else. But as far as man, like not necessarily just buying in, but earning is, obviously Hive.
Yeah.
For anybody, like, you don't even have to be a good writer, you just have to care, man, and you have to be you have to just buy into the environment and be part of it. And it starts off slow, man, but it was a fun, been a fun little ride.
Yeah. And that's how I got in. That's how I started cryptocurrency. I was learning because I was still really skeptical. And while I was learning, I was just writing about it. And yeah, Hive was the way. Made that $20. Bought a penny stock, ADA, Cardano, at 1 cent. Rolled it up to $1. Yeah, baby. Everybody's dream.
Yeah.
I only got half of that because the market went down afterwards, but it's okay. I took that 600 or so, deposited in D Live when it first came out, and I was compounding at like 10,000% APY with $600 for some months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was telling people, I was like, "Yo, you don't know what I'm doing. Listen to me.
This ain't gonna last.
Yeah,
you
like
better get in."
Exactly. And people were just like, "You're a scammer." And I'm like, all right, man. I was like offering you some of my own. I would be going around to people like, "Yo, if you want to join, I'll give you 100, 200 tokens or something like that. You can start compounding them and start earning." And people like, "You're a scammer." I'm like, "Wow, you know what? Sometimes some people you just can't help." So.
No, it reminds me of giving away axes on stream.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point they're worth like $400 each.
Oh,
what?
Oh,
what? Yeah.
But
crypto's fun, man. It's a fun ride.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give my in and out really quickly, and then we can go into like people's favorite projects, and if you guys had anything to say about those news topics that I ran through. But yeah, switch the camera myself real quickly. My favorite in and out method for cryptocurrency is it used to be Coinbase to get in. It might still be Coinbase. Coinbase is just so easy to use, right? So there's that. There's other things like MoonPay and stuff like that, and whatever else exists now. But probably Coinbase or Cash App to get in. And honestly, I find Cash App to be that much easier to use right now. And it's partially because I'm not doing quizzes on Coinbase for free crypto all the time. but if you're new, do those quizzes. Stop playing. That, and then I take whatever money I get from Coinbase or Cash App as Bitcoin, and I'll transfer it into something that I can use in DeFi. So you can't use Bitcoin in DeFi, even though I know Bitcoin maxis are like Lightning Network, blah 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 blah, whatever. Nerd.
Everything else is a shitcoin.
Yeah, whatever, nerd. We're not talking about that right now. So yeah, I would switch it over.
Dude,
like,
I actually think that they have something there with the Lightning Network.
They do.
There are ways for you to make transactions private. There are nodes that people are using so that the chain is decentralized. I just think that there is a barrier to entry for that type of thing, and it's even for people like us. You got to get a node. You got to know how to keep it up and stuff like that. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I just want to say that I think that I think Bitcoin's going to come back.
Bitcoin's a monster.
Be like, shit, this is it.
that keeps being the case.
You know?
That keeps being the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had this conversation with my partner at the beginning of COVID or so. Oh, we're supposed to say the C word all the time. But at the beginning of this pandemic, and she was like, probably it was like really at the sometime after DeFi summer, and I call that like summer 2020 and stuff, into like early 2021, where I was like, yo, all these people that like are not paying attention to cryptocurrency and stuff like that, just like missed their ride to like make like substantial gains. And I was saying it since the thing started, like back in March of 2020 all the way through. I'm like, people are missing their ride. And it's like, oh well, it'll get easier for them, and as it gets easier, then they'll still have that chance to catch up and stuff. And I was like, I don't think so. I'm like, they had like $2,000 per Bitcoin is something that like any 16-year-old could save up to in a summer.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Because then if it's going to take that ride, if you're going to go on that ride with that, that's life-changing at 16. It's life-changing at 16.
Oh, yeah.
Like I can't imagine having $60,000 at 16. You're like, what? So that's life-changing. But like now, even at 20,000, like that's not really... That's most kids, how many years do you have to save up as a teen to get that. Most teens are not gonna make $20,000. You know, so it's out of most people's range. Most adults are not gonna make $20,000 to invest in a year. Like, probably not. Like, you know, if we make an investment and it goes up, then maybe. But
that's where the fun and the altcoins get.
Yeah.
You know, to try to catch that lightning in a bottle, not necessarily find something that's going to match with Bitcoin, but maybe something that can, you know, do 100x.
Yeah. No, I just recently shared a video of Richard Hart talking about, and I shared it on TikTok. Hashtag DeFi Degen on TikTok. It's pretty much all videos of me. I run that hashtag. But I shared a video of Richard Hart where he was talking to some people on his podcast, and they were like, yeah, well, how hard is it to get into Hex right now? Because Hex is going up to, I forget, like, it's down to like 5 cents, 6 cents right now or something like that. But still, it's up like a ridiculous amount of money. Like, if you had $100 or $1,000 in Hex like 2 years ago, you're a millionaire. Like, it's kind of crazy how many millionaires it minted. And so, like, it doesn't really matter. But they were like, yeah, like, how hard is it to get into Hex though? And he's like, it's hard. He's like, you got to understand crypto. You didn't have to understand crypto. You got to understand DeFi, where to send it, how to operate smart contracts, this and that. And he's like, it's hard. This is my same point that I was making with Bitcoin. Is just like, when it's that much harder, you know, you're not, you know, you can almost be guaranteed that you're not going to miss that rally, that wave, if it's that hard to get into. And right now, crypto is still a little hard. I think DeFi is hard for most people to get into right now. But once DeFi starts becoming easy, it's going to start to dry up that much more too. And that's just kind of the way these cycles go, is that you know, you can measure the potential gains in a cryptocurrency project a lot of time, I feel like, by how difficult like it is to get it. Does it have a good concept and ideas behind it, and then is it easy to get into, even though it's that awesome of an idea? And if it's not that easy to get into,
don't get me started on Hive, bro. Don't get me started on Hive. The learning curve of Hive. Ugh. Dude, yeah. I don't want to hear it.
Okay, wait. So before I go too much more, I gotta do my in and out. So Coinbase, Cash App, in.
Coinbase
and Cash App, in, because I do this. I do this to make, like, you know, move in and out in like 20 minutes all the time. So either Coinbase or Cash App, in. Typically Cash App. I send it to a website. Either called, like, because you can go to an exchange, right? Centralized exchange. So it's all centralized entities pretty much to do some type of, to get on the blockchain, unless you're using something like Hive. If you want to go decentralized, Hive is your answer. If you want, you know, by creating content and value. But if you want to pay somebody, then centralized entity. And so I send it to either simpleswap.io or changenow.io. And both of these websites allow you to swap from whatever main cryptocurrency, call it Bitcoin or Ethereum, and you can do the same thing with Atomic Wallet. I actually made a tutorial where I use Atomic Wallet for this method. But from those, SimpleSwap or ChangeNow or Atomic Wallet, send your funds there initially, and then and ChangeNow and SimpleSwap will do this automatically for you. They'll send it right to your next wallet. So if I had $20 of Bitcoin on Cash App or on Coinbase, I'd send it to ChangeNow. They'll send it over to my Binance Smart Chain wallet or over to my Polygon, wherever I tell them to send it. And they just send it there, and it appears there as BNB or Tron or whatever other token. And when you compare the time that it takes to use other applications and the potential fees from either centralized application or gas fees, you know, paying $3 or $4 and doing it in 15 minutes from one transaction is quite a lot off of a headache. So that's my way typically in and out, is I'll use ChangeNow from my Binance Smart Chain or Tron wallet or something like that, send my funds to that, and it'll send it over my Cash App. Within 20 minutes, it's, you know, I'm selling from Cash App and it's going to my bank account in the next 10 minutes or less. So that's how I can get in and out really quickly. There's no days or hours wait. I'll be like, I really need some money to buy a pizza right now, and I don't want to see my bank account go down any, and I'll go sell some crypto. Same thing for video games. So that's my quick in and out. All right. With that, you know, we're pretty much at time. But
I like using.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like paying for my games with crypto with magic internet money.
Oh, with that meme?
It's not as crypto. It's not as guilty feeling when it's off profit, you know.
Yeah.
Even though just a little bit.
Hell yeah. I mean, I just paid up for a whole vacation of crypto games. Like, I'm sure babe was like, I'm like, she's like, and I'm just like, yeah, I got dinner every meal. And like, she's like, no, let me get this one. I'm like, no, let me help. Like, it's fine. It's all good. It's that magic internet money, anyways.
Yeah, I've been there. there. But my axes have paid for some sushi nights for sure.
Hell yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah.
And ironically, it started with sushi races, so I thought that was kind of ironic. Yeah.
So your Axie Infinity started with sushi races?
Well, when they made, before there was battles, they take like the stats of the player of the Axies and then have little races based off of their just simple stats before they had battling. So that was kind of, just a stupid little way you could earn stuff.
I don't want to talk much about Axies because it's a
sore topic,
thorn in my side.
Oh my
That's fair.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys want to run through from these topics? Like, yeah, because right now we just got the floor open for a bit before we close down. So.
Well, you did say something about maybe talking about favorite protocols and
yeah.
For me, that's Hive, but I want to save the Hive talk for down the road. I don't want to get too saturated.
Don't want to burgeon too much with Hive right now.
Yeah. But I do want to say that for me, kind of like the main reason I got into crypto is still the reason why I'm interested in crypto, which is it basically I saw somebody talk about it on Twitter the other day, and it was just kind of like the way they phrased it. I wish I could credit it, but basically it was saying like taking the DeFi world, the NFT world, and the Decentraland world, and doing all this and having a point of taking real life things, taking the community we build together, and putting in the real world somehow having something tied to the real world, and to where for me is if I was in a position to be able to buy 10 acres, 15 acres, I would like to leverage that equity and build stuff with it to make things better. And I would put up the equity of the property to say, okay, here's a way that if you want to support it, this is what I want to do. I'm going to build this. So if you want to buy some of the equity from me, I'm going to take the money, I'm going to build this, kind of like a little DAO fund that's locked in. And like Hive would be a great way of doing that in the sense of it's linked to blogging. You can track your progress and talk about it. There's a platform to where you can share content of the process. And I just thought that was a natural synergy. But for me, man, we are friends with people. We grew up friends with people close to us because they're down the street from us. We could get to them on the bike. Now we have friends across the world. I have friends in every time zone. And I can talk to any, I can communicate with a lot of major people in different areas to get their perspective on a lot of different things and a lot of different things they're interested in. And we can build something to make something really, really cool if we put some energy and we focus on some things. So that's for me has always been the start and the finish of crypto for me. And so whoever figures out the governance and the protocols and have some way of, hey man, you show up to my property and you help me out and I'm going to give you some NFTs, some celery NFTs. And at the end of the season, you could trade them in for some real vegetables whenever anything's in season. You can come down. For me, it's really trading free time for a basic need, whether that be food, water, shelter, Maslow's hierarchy needs, basically, creating an in real life protocol that combines the blockchain and does some real world things. And that's, I don't know in any form existing, but that's what it is for me. That's what it's going to be for me.
I feel that because I mean that resonates with me. I mean, I feel like yours was like a lot more almost like I want to say like mankind history like aligned with like more in tune with your hunter-gatherer side as well, like in actual survival, where mine comes more so into play with entertainment, which is also part of survival for humans. Is as much as we need to do other stuff, we also need entertainment. We've always needed that, otherwise people go crazy. But on the entertainment side of things, it's been the arcade money match gaming and our arcade concept with me, which is something that I had started to construct before I found blockchain technology. And so I was already like, I was like, okay, well, people have trouble with like coming up with money online and stuff like that, but they want to do these things. They want to somehow generate it. And I came from a marketing and advertising world. And so I'm like, I knew that companies will pay for data and for attention to audiences. And my mother ran a newspaper, and I'm like, how do you pay for the newspaper? How do you get paid? She's like, let people take out ads. And so I came from that type of world, and it made me think that there's probably some way that we could leverage this type of stuff online. And so I started trying to do that with Money Match Gaming initially, and then I found Hive. And so Hive is definitely one of my favorite platforms for that, because as everything that you just mentioned, it allows that to happen, and you can do it for, like you were saying, like land and farming and detailing that experience, or you can do it with gaming or finance or whatever it is. So that's definitely one of my favorite ones. Other than Hive, two other blockchains. Eric's gonna want to put fist at me for this. I still like Tron. I still like Tron and the BitTorrent token and BitTorrent chain. I like the idea of what they're trying to accomplish with BitTorrent chain. And reasons for it is just because there should be more than one type of thing, and one way to skin the cat. What they're trying to accomplish with BitTorrent chain is a connection to all different blockchains as they emerge, and so there needs to be some type of like middle ground to help you connect to the different blockchains, and so that's what they're trying to accomplish. So I like that, and Tron's model of you have so many tokens, you lock them up, you get free transactions or less less cost is also something that's beneficial to, I think, gaming companies and companies that want to do something more toward a community where you don't want to pay transaction fees all the time, or it's not feasible for you to do so. So it accomplishes some issues for me, and I know there's Justin's son and stuff like that attached to them. So I always have to tell that to people, especially people that like Aaron Crypto, and they're like, they give me the cross and stuff like that, but I come to them with reason, and they're like, I hear you, but down devil. So that one, I do like BNB, Binance Smart Chain, or BNB chain, whatever you want to call it. For like OGs are going to call it Binance Smart Chain, like without even thinking. And that's just the utility, and finding so many, I feel like, DeFi protocols on Binance Smart Chain that many of them rugged and stuff, or just had bad. I didn't get rugged a lot during the recent cycle and stuff like that. What I ran into more often than not is I maybe got rugged like once or twice maybe, and for like very little money. But more often I would come into like situations where they'd have bad tokenomics. And so it led to, and I was a person who liked to read white papers and stuff like that. And so I would understand the tokenomics, and I'd be like, this sounds like it's going to run or something. We'll find out. But that led to me also understanding tokenomics a lot better when I was reading so many different white papers, seeing projects that crashed from having poor tokenomics and the ones that survived for a longer period of time. And it made me want to look up other things in the traditional finance world as well that might connect to them. So BNB chain, Tron, Hive, on BNB chain, or Binance Smart Chain, DRIP. The drip faucet, drip token. I talk about it in Money Match Gaming videos, but don't talk about it too much in my other stuff. But it's like a certificate of deposit. It's very similar to like a hex type situation, but on Binance Smart Chain. And it's got people getting hex type gains. So I don't know how that one's still under the rug like it is. And then like other things like Aave and stuff, which any borrowing and lending platform, honestly, any of the major ones, Aave, Venus, Just Lend. I had to laugh before I said it because, again, his name's on it. Just Lend. Oh my God, this guy's ego. But yeah, those are like my favorite contracts. All right. Yeah. Anything else from Squad though?
No, man, I'm pretty happy with the way everything went. I think.
My bad, y'all. My connection
is. Nope. Can
you guys hear me?
Yeah. Cutting out a little bit, but we hear you.
My connection is being ass, but I'll try to say.
Oh, dang! This connection.
Something real quick, like what you guys said about like your favorite stuff in blockchain. I feel like that's what you guys are talking.
Oh, and God's Unchained. I forgot about God's Unchained. Since Satoshi's frozen, and I know he loves NFTs. I don't think he plays much God's Unchained, but I think that's a trading card game on the blockchain. It's got everything's almost done perfect on God's Unchained. It's a pretty dang good system. The cards don't need to cost a lot. Like if you enjoy the game and it does what it's supposed to do and it has the mechanics, doesn't matter. You're back, and it looks like maybe clarity to be able to hear you.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but if I end up cutting out again, then we can just wrap up or whatever, or you guys just continue. Sorry, but I don't know how much you heard of what I said, but
Oh no.
am I still in?
You're still in. You're still in. It was starting to cut like this. You were doing so wonderful, and then it was like, okay, but
now that I got my point.
Yeah.
No.
I keep getting froze over here, so I'm like, damn, they can't hear me. But I got in on Litecoin, and I kind of got scammed. Well, yeah, I basically I didn't really lose my money, but the value of my Litecoins went down pretty much over that scam. I didn't get to yield any Litecoins, but I took out the Litecoins that I put in. So that's why I don't really like yield farming that much, because I'm kind of PTSD. But what I really like is stuff that works in crypto. Like I think that I was thinking about it, like one of my favorite things is just stable coins, just because my experience mostly is that they just work for what they're there for. I feel like I was one of the first people who was like, we need to start looking at NFTs, and that was just because mainly because of gaming. Like I seen some crypto gaming stuff pretty early, but then when we got to like the NFT bull run, it was mostly just PFPs. And then I found, the Wax blockchain, and there were some NFTs on there that had to do with like some governance stuff.
That's another
and
one.
Some,
I love Wax.
I was buying these NFT World land packs and these NFT World cards and selling them on Atomic Hub. And I really like being able to buy something that I was going to be able to use in a game. So I like mostly any protocol that's kind of useful, except for I still don't like Ethereum that much, mainly because transaction fees and shit like that give me anxiety. So what I mostly like is just like, now I'm just mostly looking at upcoming crypto gaming stuff like UOS and Ultra. I think that with them being like a Steam type platform for games, hopefully eventually gamers will bite the bullet, accept NFTs at some point and go somewhere to go, to buy their NFTs. Hopefully the barrier to entry keeps getting easier. And I really think that when you said the stuff about governance of crypto, I really think that a lot of countries are missing out, and they're probably doing it on purpose. But I think one of the best use cases we could see for blockchain is just someone else can vote, and you can see you can see those votes on the blockchain. I'm not necessarily saying that if the votes could be private or they could be public. There could be ways to KYC on like a private blockchain to where you could use your tax ID somehow to link your vote somehow. I'm getting in the weeds out there, but
yeah.
I seriously think that for blockchain we need to keep pushing these groundbreaking dApps, like even like the what was it, GMT, that step and shit people buy with those shoes. Like I feel like that was a groundbreaking. I don't think it's a Ponzi scheme, but it's an app that people use to generate value out of exercising. Like that's a crazy use case. So I think that we have to keep finding these new use cases for crypto to keep to keep up and to break away from stock market or the SP 500 for it to diverge from that type of thing. So anything that's like cool and new and that works, I want to try it, which is why I'm there. Like I'm interested in Doge chain. I've like many people, I missed out on a lot of money because of emotions. I missed out on a lot of opportunities in blockchain because of emotions. I still think Doge is shit. I think Shiba Inu is shit, but if they're going to be making it to where you can use Doge like Ethereum, I know there are crazy amount of people that hold Doge, and they're going to be, hopefully learning
Cutting up a little bit.
to use it like they use Ethereum.
I think we might have lost you, Satoshi.
I mean, a lot of us are going to get wrecked. I'm getting wrecked on Doge Chain right now. I've put a insignificantly small amount of money in Doge, and an even smaller amount of money onto like Super Doge.
Oh my goodness! I feel like I'm gonna say something else, and he's gonna come through again. Okay.
Definitely, I keep getting rugged on this Zoom, and that's what's gonna happen on Doge Chain is just constant rugs. But there'll be some money to be made. But I just think anything that's cool and people want to use, and like it's I feel like blockchain is like capitalism. Like wherever the money is, that's what's correct, kind of. So
see.
Anyway.
Yeah, no.
That's what I needed to say before I get rugged again.
Cool. I would say my last point of the night, and see if Erica has anything. But I think what you were saying there about really just anything that has a use case or that can actually be used for something, I feel like is on to something. Because then you also mentioned, I'm almost starting to ditch on it. You mentioned number one, Doge, and then you mentioned Shib, and then I think you mentioned like a game or something like that. Maybe that's what I was referring to. But Steppen, and how you mentioned like but it has like kind of like Ponzi-nomics to it or whatever, where they didn't really think out the whole financial situation of how it's going to work and reward users so well. But I think that's the next thing with blockchain, honestly, is that these games that maybe didn't figure that out so well or not, they now actually have an option already to utilize things like honestly use what it's not that hard to figure out if people really think about it. Like, what were these big CeFi companies using and trying to generate yields with? Actual DeFi, Aave, Compound. Like, what do these games need to use? Aave, Compound. They can generate real yield by just taking the money they get from these games or whatever and putting it into actual DeFi, actual yield-bearing DeFi. Even if they just put it together as enough liquidity for things that people were actually swapping on an AMM, automated market maker, which is just like an exchange between individuals. I know you guys might not know, but anybody else out there, then it's actually yield bearing. It's actually going to start to generate some income for that game. And I feel like that's the thing that so many projects missed. What I think is funny about Dogecoin situation and their new chain, and it's not associated with the actual Dogecoin apparently, is because I would always say that, like, with Dogecoin's mission is like they don't actually have like a chain for DeFi or anything or smart, all these applications and stuff like that. There's no actual use case for Dogecoin. It's just minting to whatever the heck. It's just not good. And then Shib came along and I'm like, okay, this thing's deflationary. You got one bonus on Dogecoin. It's the exact opposite of Dogecoin in that aspect. It can run smart contracts. They actually have their own exchange. So that's like there's Uniswap. There's only so many exchanges on Ethereum to begin with that actually have a lot of volume on them. Shib is actually one of those exchanges. It should probably be taken a lot more serious by a lot of people. So Shib is actually one of those exchanges. They actually have their own governance token. So it actually has a DAO formed around it. And they are starting their own layer 2, which I believe is going to be partly like a fork of Arbitrum. Shib is off the chain, like no pun intended. But Shib is way more serious than Dogecoin, and Dogecoin is trying to catch up. But that's just an example of a project being made on the blockchain and actually utilizing blockchain technology, which is where I feel like a lot of these other companies and stuff like that didn't come from, like GMT and stuff like that. It was a little bit more too mainstreamy and didn't really understand the underlying tokenomics structure. But that's my thing with things. So I totally agree with you that I think as more and more of these companies start to understand blockchain and DeFi and what they can actually do to generate yields and not just take money in, and now I have some money, how do I spread it out amongst other people? Like, no, utilize it in stuff that actually gains yields, and then we're going to start to see like a whole new revolution. And I think it's already starting. You can actually look up hashtag real yield on Twitter, and you start to see a bunch of different DeFi projects and stuff like that are using real yield tactics. So that's some alpha for anybody out there, because I got my head deep in the weeds right now as I work for a DeFi company actually right now. But that's it from me. Anything from you as we wrap up today, Mr. Wilson?
No, man, I think that was great. Really happy with everything and how it turned out for the first one. I think it's only going to get smoother as we get more comfortable with how we want to operate it. And no, man, I'm fortunate to have gotten in early enough to be ahead, and to where I could lose everything I have and still be ahead.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of now I get to have fun. I feel like I get to have fun. You know, I really just put support behind the projects I enjoy, because that's really, for me, the speculation. All speculation is price speculation is bidding on the future protocols that you think are going to change the world, and that may not be what everybody's doing. But you know, in the long run, I feel that's what everybody's doing, whether they know it or not. They're bidding on the protocols that are going to change the future.
Facts.
And that's really exciting.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well put. Yeah, I feel like that was the most concise outro I could ever imagine. So I'm gonna count that as yours. Thank you for joining us, Eric Wilson, Rex Satoshi. We'll be back next week with a tighter show flow and everything, because we're just gonna keep improving this thing, making it better and better. So thank you for joining us. This is Trustless Degens. We are out of here.